Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Lunch and Learn. This is going to be the final Lunch and Learn for the week on this Thursday. I am your host, Gregory Goldston, and just a wonderful reminder that we are going to have Submersed coming up not next week, but the week after. And it's going to be a 4-day event where we go into basically the basics of the Decisions product, enough to cover for product training completion. So it's an in-depth look at what the tools can do. It's basic enough to be able to start out with no decisions knowledge, but you should be able to get a good feel for how the tool works and how to work with it after this live submersed. Um, Also, DocBot AI is now incorporated into all Decisions products going back to version 7. So you can now pull up the chat as you would with a support member. And now Decisions DocBot AI, or DART, is now going to be there to assist you. Of course, we always recommend checking out our Decisions YouTube channel, where we continually post different videos to go over different sorts of concepts and including the previous lunch and learns that we've hosted here. And for those of you who do not know by now, we have added another EST stand-up time from 2 to 3. This is an addition to the one that we host from 9:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Okay, that's the rundown. With that all being said, how about I switch to my decision screen now, and you guys can start putting questions into the Q&A for us to answer. I see we've got one already. So give me just a moment to switch over to decisions, and then I will read that. So just a moment. And let's see, switch screen again. There we go. All right, cool. And I'm trying to pull up participants. Just a moment here. All right. So our first question is from Leia, who's asking a question about the live training. Does this cover the same material as regular training? Second question using a truth table. Let me allow you to talk and we'll answer these sequentially. So you should be able to chat now if you wish. The first question is, what do you mean by regular training? Do you mean like the product training, the initial product training? Because if so, yes. So the initial product training that you do with decisions when you sign up and we go over what all the tools do, and then we have you build purchase request. This is going to go over the same material. So yes, to that first question, it will cover the same material as regular product training. Not all the sprints. So when you get into like developer training and trying to go through those, this does not cover that. This just covers the basics. And now, oh yes.
Oh, I was going to say thank you. I couldn't get myself off mute at first.
Oh yeah, no worries. All right. So now the second question you've got. Let's see. You're using a truth table with the output of an action trigger. The action calls a flow, and we are trying to use the output of that subflow for the output of our truth table. Interesting. Okay. I get what you're trying to do. Let me jump into our environment and let's see if this is possible real quick. So, and I do have a very important question about this. Is this a standard truth table or an external truth table?
Right now, we're trying it with a standard truth table because we haven't been able to get it to work. We haven't been able to allow actions in our external truth table.
Okay, gotcha. Let's not truth table flow. There we go. Okay, so let's go in here. We'll make a new truth table right off the bat. And we're just going to create some types to match it with. Let's just set a string to match. Oop, my bad. There we go. So we will call this string name. And if certain names match, we will have certain outcomes. So let's say name equals, and then let me specify my name and we'll go through the other training department members. Or the US training department members, I should specify. We have a few more than just us here. And then, come on. All right. Now, here's where you're mentioning to allow actions. You have an action specified. You are running a flow. Let's actually change that. Let's remove that and have that to create new. Okay. And what you're trying to do is get the output of this flow here to be able to pass out of the truth table as an output, correct?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
right. Or at least some way in our main flow to be able to use the output.
Okay, let's take a look here. So we can add the input data for this. Yeah, no. Results. Let's see. It wouldn't come from there. Pardon me as I poke around just a little bit.
I'll say basically in the flows that we're triggering, we're creating data in the in the action flow.
Okay, so you're creating data in here that we're trying to get passed out. The first thing that comes to mind that could definitely be done is you could definitely do this with a save and fetch method, but I'm trying to think of a more performant way to do that. Like you could go into here, right? Edit the flow, have this, create the data that you want. Let's put this as name, age, favorite color, just something along those lines. So it has that, right? And then, yeah, that's what I was thinking here. You have it in here, and then you have a custom data type that you would save this to. And then right outside of your truth table, you would be able to fetch that data based upon maybe a particular output ID or something that's supposed to come in from this default output data. That might be possible. Let's see here, because there is the option. If I go in here and edit it, yeah, hold on, edit input data. Wrong one. I wonder how we can do that. Specify default input. Nope. Extension flow. I don't think that's it. I am looking around a little bit. I don't know this off the top of my head, if I can be honest, but it is something that I'm trying to test here. Because let's say, all right, let's say that you ran this flow, right? And I'm just going to create one other flow that basically does the same thing. Pardon me. Create data. It's going to be the same data type, but with different values. Okay. So name, age, favorite color. Drag it to the end. Let's set these up as constant. Actually, we got to come back anyway, so we'll do that. So you have these two steps, right? I'm going to exit and save out of this. I'm going to exit and save out of this, and then we'll create a data type real quick. Again, this is a way to do it. I'm not 100% sure this is the most performant yet. We'll call this, let's call this test data. I think you might see where I'm going with this already. Oh yeah, it's not going to let me do that with a space. Not if it's database stored. That's right. Okay, there we go. Now let's go back into our truth table flow. Go in here, connect that. Name we're going to set from input data. So we'll get to specify that at the start of this flow. That's fine. Pick that from input data. And then edit this. Go in here. Not edit input data. Go in here. Edit. And now We drag over the database structure. We can build data on this. And now you have this test data that gets created into the database, right? And if it's the most recent one, if this is the only process creating those test data, right, it's going to have a created on date. Outside of this main flow, I'm going to use a fetch entities. Fetch the type. Fetch criteria, none, limit spending order, and then we want to sort by the field. No, we don't want to sort by any of those fields, honestly. Might need to add one more field to this to make sure that this works out right. But the idea is that we specify the name in here. I think I put my name first, which has the completed flow. So we'll run that. We'll start debugging that, right? You go into here, you get a result path false because we didn't actually specify anything. The truth table goes, test flow runs, executes. It creates that record right in here. And now when you go to fetch that record, you get all the information we put in, which was nothing, right? We didn't specify anything in this particular case. This is a possible way to do that. However, I will have to test this on my end to try to find a more performant way to accomplish this because it does seem intuitive, or at least seems reasonable, that you should be able to output the flow data from this particular truth table, right?
Yeah, would the fetch entities, would this have an issue if we ran the truth table through like a for each loop? Let's say we ran it through a for each loop, it hit on different flows each time it ran through, and then the last time it hit no match or something, so the data was just blank. I guess would we have to clear out the data we created the previous run to ensure we got um, a proper match the second
Not
time?
if you set, you would not have to if you were to set a created by field on it.
Okay.
So that you can limit, not so you can sort it by the created on date from descending, right? So you get the most recent one, and then at the
Okay.
end you could clear them all if you want to. But hold on, you're running this through a for each loop. I have a question on this. What is the truth table doing outside of running a flow? What's it trying to match?
The truth table is matching like a medical code up to a subflow to decide if that request should be approved or not. And it's giving at the end of the subflow, it's giving like for instance, number of units requested, what queue the request should route to. So just a little bit of information about that particular um, request for that particular code.
I think I've got a better design paradigm then instead of this, if that's what you're trying to accomplish.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah, so let
definitely.
me let me demonstrate that real quick. So I am going to have I'm going to put an external truth table here just so that we can compare that in a Oh wait, I would just create one, never mind. But let me show you how we would what might be a better way to do this then. So let me get the for each loop. That goes to next, that goes to the truth table. The truth table, instead of outputting a flow, instead of running an action on the flow, right? What if instead you had a, where is it?
Like a flow ID or something.
Exactly. A flow ID instead. And then you have your,
Truth table, output the flow ID, and then run the flow ID.
yeah, runtime selection, target ID. The reason that this would be helpful is one, you get your input output data, right? That's one thing. Another reason that this is helpful is now you can make this an external truth table just sourced from a database, right? That has that flow ID. And every time that you add it to that database, it will update this truth table instead of having to go and manually add a new flow.
Yeah, I think that would definitely work for us.
Yeah, I'm just going to pick one at random here just to demonstrate this functionality here. But yeah, you go, you get the ID, right? It passes that out. It goes through here. We're going to go in here and make sure that we set the truth table to execution result first match only so that we're not outputting two different flows, right? And then that will output just a singular output that will be the flow ID. It runs through here, does whatever processing it needs. It can save the record. It can do whatever you need after that. Now you don't have any overhead with creating extra data structures and deleting them. You just pass it out. It runs it based upon that logic, and you get your process done. You could even make this asynchronous if you don't need output data and just need something run in the background.
Okay, yeah, we'll try this out. I think it'll work. Thank you.
Yeah, sure thing. Alrighty. We have a bunch of people today, so please, if you have questions, put them in. Be very glad to assist here. While we are waiting, I can go over languages and decisions. I'm not talking about programming languages. I mean like actual languages. So, well, kind of. So, decisions has a bunch of strings. It's in a default language, right? And you have the ability to enable translation within decisions. This translation is going to allow you to take particular strings from your environment and translate them to a language of your choice. Now, the way this works is not through an API call. It's not like a Google Translate. It's a bit different. So, what would happen is, let's say you go to the master translation list. This gets populated automatically from different forms and pages and user-facing entities that you create. You can add your own as well by right-clicking it and adding a string to translate. So let's say that I had a string warehouse or something like that that I was trying to get translated to a different language. I would add this to the master translation flow. Once it's been added here, you would then select the language, or in this case, create the language that you want, provide a name for that language, and the language HTML tag. Once you do that, you can then go to that language, see the list of strings that are all from the master translation list, and choose the translation for them. So if I were to go to Spanish and then go to project name, I could right click that, set the translation, and then that translation would appear. Now, the way that decisions determines how that translation appears in which language is going to be based upon the account. So when you go to security in accounts, and we want to edit an account to allow it to function within a particular language, we go down here and we select the language. Now, anything that will have translation text enabled on your decisions environment will translate any text that you set up into that specified language for this specific user. That's how Decisions handles translations in general. And I see that we have some more questions now. So we're going to move on to those. Back to the project. Let me unmute you. Shangki, is that how I say your name? Let me unmute you so you can actually specify that.
Something like this. Hello. Yeah,
Hi,
this is
how's it
Sean.
going?
Yeah,
All
good,
right.
good. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a valid question. So this is really quite good at loading the, we have steps to loading the Excel file or CSV file. The data, normally the data is from the horizontal way. So one row is one record that we can just use it and put into the database table and just use the insert. Then, but now I get a table with the table data is in the horizontal or vertical way. So one record is in one column.
Okay.
So,
Let's
how
I'm
to
going
do
to go
the
over
map.
the. Oh, sorry. What were we saying?
Then I need to mapping it to the database table definition.
All
Is
right.
that really good practice to do that?
Let's figure that out. I'm going to read the question aloud so that everyone else here can also see the question particularly. So Sean has a data file that needs to load into the database table. While the data is in a record, it's listed in a vertical way instead of horizontal. So the rows are going down or up. And they need a good way to map it into a data structure based on some sort of table definition. So let me ask a few more questions. How are you getting the data? Is it from an external database or are you creating it this way in Decisions?
Oh, I get the data is a data file external, right? It's in the Excel or CSV file format.
Okay, then there absolutely is a way to do this. All
Yeah,
right,
so
if
we think
it's
it's like we need to transpose the data from one direction to another direction.
right, we can set up a bit of logic to do this ourselves even. So let's say I think it's yeah, import Excel or CSV. We select that and then we pass in the particular CSV that we want, right? And then we'll specify the data output. So this is the typical way of doing things, right? You get this, it inputs it into a list of rows or let's see here. Here, let me specify a number of columns. So this would basically pass out, this would pass in your file and then you would get the outputs as a list of rows or whatever you set this to, I believe. However, here, let me set this to Excel real quick. Yeah, here's your output type. You specify it here to match whatever you're trying to map it into. However, from what you're suggesting, it sounds like, let's see, where is it? For each Excel or CSV row. Here we go. That's what I'm looking for. In this case, you would input a file, and this works kind of like a for each step, which means that you can manually go through every single row inside of this, right? And we can create logic from this flow to be able to transpose your vertical data into horizontal data. So there is a get Excel value. What is it called? I'm going to go into our data Excel and CSV. Let's find this step real quick. And this is get value, file type for, yeah. All right, here we go. All right. So what will happen here is it will go through each row, right? And go through each particular entry in this. This may be a little bit tricky to try and transpose. I'm guessing the data you get in. The problem is that we don't actually know how many records there are, right? We're going across a So it would get the row, it would get the other row. We do know how many columns there are though. I'm assuming that the data that you get in, you know how many
Yes, I know how many columns there.
Okay, but they're just horizontal. Interesting. This is going to be a little tricky.
Is it a way to load everything into a list, then drag the list into another direction? So
Possibly. There's a way to definitely load everything into a list. That's the import
Yeah.
Excel or CSV. Yeah.
yeah. After that, we got a list. So is it possible to?
Let's see here. Is there any way to specify? Dynamic data row. Nope. Column mapping. It doesn't know which column's supposed to go to which because we haven't specified that yet for an Excel line. Let's see. If I were to drag in an Excel line and then we map the columns, which in this case are the rows. You know what? This may not function. And the reason why is because what happens is you specify the number of columns, which would be something that's typically known, but it's going to treat the rows as columns, which means we don't actually know how many rows there are going out. Let's see. Do we have anything that would be able to do that? Oh, wait a minute. Get value in CSV row and column number.
Chicken patty. As the name of it. You have another one there. You asked I am any chicken patty left.
This might function. So you can get the value in a CSV row, right? And you specify the row, and your rows are going to be set, right? If you have the data coming in vertically, your rows are going to be a set number that you'll know from this kind of input. So you would specify the row, and you would go through each of them, and then we could go through each column number until it runs out of columns and set the value in another column, basically create it from scratch. Is that making a little bit of sense? I will have to build this out. This is a bit of a complicated build to try and completely do on Lunch and Learn, but I can work on this and try to get you a functioning flow that demonstrates this. But the main idea would be that we know how many rows there are because the data is coming in vertically. The column number would be set dynamically based upon how many different columns were found when it goes through a loop. It will check for the columns, it will put it here, and it will get that row, and we can specify what that value is for that row each time it goes through with the set value in column, right? Because now, if we set the value in each particular column, we can basically create the CSV or Excel from scratch, knowing what each of those inputs are going to be and specifying the output of this step into that value. So it's doable, is what I'm trying to say. It would be a little bit complicated, but it's doable. Unfortunately, I cannot. I'll check. I'll check if there's a single step that flips it over. I don't think there's one off the top of my head, but I will check as well with our devs and make sure that I'm not missing something.
Okay, so it's a get value from the CSV row, then set value back into a column that using this.
Yeah, you're going to need multiple loops for this. It's going to have to loop through each row for the set amount of times and then go again to the next column number. It's a long process if we do it this way, and I'd like to find a better one, but I will take a look and start building this offline and then send it to you. I have your email. Yeah, I'll be able to send that to you and let you know.
Okay, thank you so much.
Absolutely. And I will try to get working on that after Lunch and Learn today.
Thanks.
Sure thing. All right. Smitha, let me unmute you and I'm going to read your question now. Hi, if we have an XML structure that is dynamic, will it be a problem when we serialize, deserialize, etc.? We have a basic XML structure, but as we understand, the users sometimes add nodes and our process seems to break for a few and passes for a few, even though there is a different structure. What is the best way to handle these situations? So let me create a new flow. You should be able to talk now. So you're mentioning you get an XML structure in. It's typically the same one, but every once in a while you have another one that comes in that doesn't fit the format, right?
Correct.
Okay. So
And basically what we are trying to do is we are trying to update some nodes in the XML based on some criteria. It works great. Even sometimes, even when the structure is not exactly the same, it does work. But there are a few situations when it breaks. So what do? We cannot control, I mean, we've tried telling the users, but we cannot control what structure they send us.
I see. I see. My first thought would be to have, well, let me run through that. Let me get just a little bit more information from you here. So do they have like an import XML or how are they passing in the information?
Yeah, we do have they drop the XML in one of the places and we pick it from that.
Okay, gotcha. And I'm guessing we could have a show form. They put in file data, which is an XML file. All right, that sounds
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Create, this will be very quick. We'll just have a file upload button, keep that there. That name will be XML and then upload. Let's save that. Okay. And now we have a file data that's coming in, and that is going to go into the XML. I'm guessing XML deserialize to try to break it into a structure you've already created, right?
Correct.
Okay. Gotcha. So they'll upload the XML or it's an XML call. You'll get it from there, deserialize it. XML type is going to be whatever you passed into here, and then it doesn't work sometimes. So let me ask this then. When it fails, is it just not mapping correctly, or is there an error that's occurring?
No, it doesn't map correctly.
It just doesn't map correctly, but it counts it as done.
Yeah.
Let's see here. How can we compare? There is an object comparison in decisions. Let me hold on. And then it passed the list of data pair. Item 1 is null, item 2 is null. My thought goes to oh, right, parameterless constructor. My bad, my bad. That's gonna break it actually. Hold on. My thought goes to possibly having a way to compare them beforehand because there's not a way to dynamically select the XML type in decisions with this step. So the way that needs to be done would have to be a way to compare the structure, which I'm wondering if the compare to objects might function. There's also cast object to type, but that may not work. I'll have to play around with that a little bit to see if like you specify an XML type and you're taking in another XML type, and then if it can't cast it, you get an error or something like that. But I'll mess around with these two steps. This seems like it might be a support ticket. And the reason why I say that is because I don't know what your XML structure is and what area, if it's failing consistently at a particular area with the structure, or if it is kind of all over the place depending on what's being added, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of all over the place in the sense it's not updating the right nodes and things like that. It doesn't show me an error. If it shows an error, at least it's one thing, but it doesn't.
Right. So we need some sort of comparison beforehand that's more strict than the XML deserialize, because the XML deserialize is going to try to make it work if it can. That's the point of the
Correct.
step. So
Mm-hmm.
we need a little bit more of a strategic comparison before then. We might be able to even just do a rule and then compare the inputs of some sort of type, not the values necessarily, but compare like data types. That might actually be what this does here. That's what I'm trying to check. But there needs to be a comparison that happens before this step that branches off and determines how it should be handled from there. Maybe it's a manual processing thing, like it creates an assignment, or maybe there's an automatic way to handle it for some special cases that people tend to do. It could be a variety of ways. I will look into this and I will let you know if I can find something that's more universal for your situation. And if I can't, I would recommend opening a support ticket for that so that they can get in your environment, take a look at your process, and be able to make a recommendation.
Sure, sounds good. So sometime today, tomorrow, should I expect an email from you or something like that?
You can expect an email to me from me by the very latest by the end of tomorrow, because I
Okay,
want to take some time to look at this myself.
sure.
If you don't have to create a ticket, I don't want you to, but
Mm-hmm.
if I cannot build it in a way that is generic enough to match the process you've described, I'm going to either say, here's the project, or open a support ticket. I'll let you know about that tomorrow.
Sure, not a problem. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. All right. And now I'm going to mute you. Chetan, is that how I say your name? You should be able to talk.
Yeah, this is Chetan.
Okay. Chetan, gotcha. All right, let's see. The question, your bottom question, is this session only related to decisions
Yeah.
related training? Yeah, no. This has nothing to do with decisions training. That's the nice part about Lunch and Learn. Bring anything here.
Okay.
Yeah. The stand-ups are for training only. But anyways, let's go on to the main question. Let's see. We have a dashboard created. The dashboard is opened a tab in a browser, and a filter is applied. When we open the same dashboard with a different invoice, the filter that was applied on the previous tab also gets applied on the recent second invoice open. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what you've got going on here. So you've got a dashboard that's created. I'm just going to make a page. All right. And you're saying it's opened in a new tab. So when someone clicks on this page, it opens up a new window?
We are using the decisions dashboard page on one of our websites. So over there we are doing that.
Okay. So
Not in,
they are accessing the dashboard from your website, and
yes.
that website opens a new tab, or it opens a new tab in decisions with a different page?
No, on the website. So like sometimes we compare two invoices with each other. So while comparing, if we are applying filter on one of the invoices in one of the tab, and when the second invoice is reloaded, the same filter that was applied on the previous tab gets applied on the second tab as well. Second
I
invoice as well.
see. And they're on the same page, right? So
Yes.
same page, filtered by different invoices, but you're trying to filter them individually, not together.
Yes.
Ooh. How would we do that? Let's think here. I guess the question is, how is the filter being applied? Is it to a report, or are you using a get page variable?
No, a report.
Okay. So you're applying it to a report. That might make things possible. Let's see here.
So we have filters applied to the report. So now we also have functionality like when you check it on the website. So we have filters over there as well. So when
Okay.
we apply the filter on a column, for example, when we apply filter on open status of one of the invoices, on the second invoice as well, it gets applied.
Okay. I'm just going to get some stuff here
Mhm.
to populate some data. What am I looking for? I'm looking for email address, and then we'll do create on date just to get some different kinds of data here. There we go. Simple account report. Okay, so that displays. And then the way you're applying the filter, this is also something I have a question on. Are you using a form tile or any sort of run flow part, or are you doing it directly on the reports by
On the report.
Okay, gotcha.
The filters are applied on the report as well as on the website.
Okay.
The columns have filters conditions as well, right? On the columns, we have a filter.
Okay, sounds good. And I'm going to do entity. Actually, I want to do a field filter by created on date, and I want it to be anything that was created last year, which is all of these. That's fine. I just want to make sure that this is specified here. So we have a filter. And then if we have another one that we can add to it, which let's make it a field filter. Let's make it the email. Contains, make it runtime editable and value decisions. So if it has that URL after it in the domain. Okay. So not URL, I misspoke. So we got that. That's all good. Let's add this to a public folder real quick. Create folder. And let's see here. Okay, so now we should have access to the main page. And now this is runtime editable. And it opens us in a new tab.
When we apply filters on the column, like for example, email address, if we search for an admin over the column filter. Yes,
So right
over
here,
yeah.
I see. And so if I apply this, it does this, and then it also applies it on the second report.
Second report.
Ooh, how do we do this? Let me think like a minute on this, because you have, all right, so there is a user that is logged into decisions, or you're using a guest account or something. Somehow someone has authenticated to access your decisions environment through your website, right?
Yes.
So that person has authenticated and a named session is created for that
Created.
person. Right.
Yep.
The problem is that when you create a new tab, you're still in that same named session. So my thought goes to, you have to find a way to break apart that named session if you're trying to have another user apply a different filter at a different time. That's where my first thought goes. That may not be the only way to do this.
And if the same user does that, then
If the same user does it, because they would be applied to. I wonder. This is to the report itself, right? This is it kind of like a setup process. I am going to try something. Let's see if this works. Because it's a different way of applying a filter, and maybe it won't function in the same way either. So let us get a let's get a run flow part here. We're going to create a new one. And then here's our show form. Create a new one. What happens? We have a text box label here, right? And we'll call this Okay, so that happens, and then set dashboard report parameters. Folder ID constant, we'll pick that. That's attached. Oh no, it's one of those, isn't it? Okay, never mind. Let me set that constant, and we're gonna do this a little bit different here. Save that, exit, save, exit. Grab the public folder dashboard, right click, more. Where are you? Get folder ID. Got it. And then a quick way back, we'll just go under all and edit page data. There we go. Go here, folder ID, specify report parameters. We want to add that. And this is let's see, is it email underscore address, and then we'll set that to a constant. Actually, we'll set that from the flow data, pick that as the email output. Let's see if this runs as we expect it to. Or is it, oh, wait. We'll try an equal sign here first. If this doesn't function, then so be it. We'll fix it. All right, save it, save it. Yes, I do want to refresh it. Okay, let's go with the email address of admin, and if I hit apply, I may have called it something wrong. So email address, it may not have equals. Let's try this again real quick. Look editor is list string tags. Yeah, it's a string, select flow data, email. Save that. Save that. Yes, I do. Save. Now let's try this again. Okay. Oh, you know what? I don't, hold on, I know why. I know why this may not be functioning. Give value some other report, and then this is called, yeah, there we go. Come on. Please work. Please. We do have it showing all if none of them show up, so maybe I should put in the whole thing. Nope. Okay, I'll test this a little bit. There's a way to filter it by a flow run part instead of through here. But I'm wondering if that might be the key to having that not update. But I'm not certain about that. I'm very skeptical if that can be done or not, but I can ask and try to make it work.
Sure.
Yeah, and the main reason why is because even in two tabs, it's not like one of them is an incognito window and you're still in the same browsing session. So it doesn't have any context that one user is performing actions different from another, you know? Yeah. It might be possible if it were to create or authenticate that with another named session, but again, that seems a little bit tricky. So let me try this out first. If we can get it to function this way, this is probably the best case scenario.
Okay. Also, two name sessions doesn't work together, I think. We have
I don't
to log
think
all,
so. Like you can't have two name session in the same browser session.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the difference. You'd have to create another browser session, which would be very that would be outside of the scope of decisions. You know, you'd have to create that in your website, have it authenticate with another user ID and decisions just for this dashboard report functionality. So I'm going to try to find another way to do this because that seems very convoluted and a lot of work. So yeah, let me see if I can figure this out, if there's another way to apply this filter.
Sure. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I actually don't know if I have your email. Let me Oh wait, I do. I got your email. We're good. We're
Okay.
good.
Okay.
Okay. Cool beans. So I don't have immediate answers for everyone here, but you all asked some pretty good questions. So I will definitely take a look and see what I can do to figure that out. And yeah, so we're going to create a vertical dashboard, or sorry, a vertical table, try and convert that to a typical horizontal table. We're going to try to find a way to recognize if an XML structure differs from the one that's being mapped to. And we're also going to try to find a way to filter reports in the same named session and browser session without it filtering both reports by the same filter. That's the goal. Because I think we solved the truth table one on call. Okay. Cool beans. Well, what's it? They're like 7 minutes left, something like that. I'm not seeing any more questions, so I think we're going to call it a session. I'll begin working on y'all's requests, and I will get back to y'all individually when I have answers, solutions, or something of the like. So, hope y'all have a wonderful rest of your day, and thank you for attending.
Thank you.